Hi there. Welcome again to the Ivory Tower Collections. I'm going to do something a little different today. I've done some other videos with gameplay video reviews, a few unboxings, and I even did one showing a modification I did on a Sega Master System. But what I haven't done is to actually do a video with me doing a simple modification on something so you guys can actually see how I work and what I do. The modification I'm going to do today is a very simple one. It is a new part, if you want to call it that, or a replacement part for the original Nintendo Entertainment System to correct the issue with the blinking light. And there's a lot of other videos on this, so you know, this is again no big deal. This is mainly just a test for me. I'm actually shooting this in my garage this time, so there might be some echo, and it's also raining outside, so there might be some additional noise. Anyway, so yeah, we're going to check this out and see what we can do. So, the Nintendo Entertainment System. Wonderful little system, first introduced in the United States in 1985, and becoming mainstream thereafter, has provided wonderful years of fun and entertainment for lots of people. But due to the unique cartridge tray design, to mimic that of perhaps the loading of a VCR and Nintendo trying to stay away from the image of the system just being a video game system, it has caused us no ends of headaches and is a design flaw over the years. More specifically, this is the most common issue. You have your game, pop it in, put it down, close the lid, and you get that. In this case, I've just got a plain screen, nothing. Try to reset it. Still nothing. Go through, fiddle with it, try some other things, back on, nothing. Nothing. Well, that's because over time, the cartridge connector inside, and another common problem is what we call the blinking light problem, or also, you'll also have corrupted graphics, or it'll lock up or something. Let me reset that. Yeah, well, there's the blinking light condition. Although usually you'll just get a plain screen when something like that happens. So, that's the problem. The problem is the cartridge connector in the original Nintendo system was kind of a flawed piece of technology back at the time. So, today's little quick modification video is going to be a replacement part courtesy of ArcadeWorks called the Blinking Light Flash. Yeah, cute name. Anyway, I'm going to be installing this into my Nintendo today, and I'll document the process. Here we go. Okay, so let's get started. First, I'm going to disconnect what I don't need for this, mainly a controller cable, and I will disconnect my composite video and audio cables, set those over to the side here, and disconnect my power. Additionally, at this point I want to make sure I have a nice clear surface on which to work on. And really, to perform this modification, you only need one tool. Phillips head screwdriver. Specifically, a number 2 Phillips head screwdriver will work perfectly for this. So you take out the 6 screws that exist along the bottom of the Nintendo. Make sure you secure them somewhere. In fact, it's not scientific, but I'll show you how I usually secure my little bits and pieces. I use this old Santa Claus cake paper plate. I've had this thing for a couple of years now, but it works perfect for this. So I'll just set that off right over there, get my screws, put them in the package, or in the on the plate. And go through. Now, a little bit of history on this particular Nintendo while I'm working on this. I've already replaced the 72-pin connector inside of it once or twice already with some of the replacements that you can buy on eBay. And I have also tried the boiling method, and I've had very mixed reviews with that. In fact, in most cases, the boiling method doesn't give me anything at all. There we go. Get that last screw out, put it off to the side. And so anyway, so it's had a couple of replacement connectors in it, and over time they still just wear out, and I still have problems with them. They'll work great for most games, but for a lot of other games they just don't. And I know the games are clean. I am very fastidious with making sure my cartridges are clean before putting them into the consoles, especially if I haven't played them for a while. So I know it's not the games, and the games work in other consoles. So it's definitely the 72-pin connector, and it just needs to be replaced. So with the new Blinking Light Win kit, I'm hoping that I am replacing it permanently, or at least for a very long time. Okay, I've removed the screws, so I'm going to go ahead and take the cover right off, just like that. I'm going to set it off over here to the side, get it away. And here we go, the inside of the Nintendo. This one's kind of dusty a little bit, not too bad. It also still has the original capacitors, and those probably need to be replaced in it at some point. That will be happening soon. I might do a separate video on that, I don't know. But yeah, now let me remove the additional screws. Alright, got those off to the side, we're good there. Should be able to just about lift this up. Nope, gotta take off one more screw here from the RF modulator. And there's one more back here as well. I'm sure some people that do this a lot more frequently could probably get away with not removing every single one of these screws, but I don't want to damage this thing, so I prefer to take them all out. Okay, at this point I can take the bottom shielding, kind of set it down, and this is what needs to be changed out. So to remove it, all I got to do is just kind of hold on to the bottom of the main PCB board and slide the tray mechanism out, just like that. Set him off to the side, which, by the way, he'll never be going back in here again. And again, I'm going to hold onto the board pretty firmly here. And I'm going to take this connector in the back and I'm going to rock it back and forth slowly to remove it. And this is it. This is the main 72-pin connector right here that causes so much trouble for everybody. The main issue with these connectors, and examining them over the years, it's not the connectors along the bottom that connects to the main PCB, and it's really not the first set of pins that you can see up along the bottom row at the top. It's the pins on the top row that you can't see. That's because they're embedded about halfway inside of this. It was designed so that when a cartridge went in, like that, it then folded down like that when you snapped it into the tray. And when that act of folding it down like this made the other sets of pins on the top engage. But again, horrible design, bad design, doesn't work very well. At least, especially not through the years. This is why people used to blow on their Nintendo cartridges, because it used to magically make them work. Well, all they were doing was adding condensation to the pins, which temporarily improved the electrical conductivity of the game and allowed it to work through the pins. But that's also bad for a number of reasons. Condensation like that just causes faster oxidation and potential rust to the pins. So we're done with this guy. I'm getting him out of here. That takes me to the Blinking Light Win kit. All right, need to open this up. And by the way, I want to give a big shout out to ArcadeWorks. I literally ordered this thing, I want to say Thursday night. Today is Monday, and it arrived in today's mail. So yeah, very quick shipping. I was very impressed with that. All right, so we have here a couple of different pieces. We have what I'm going to assume is maybe a brief instructional sheet here. Yes, installation instructions. Required a manual Phillips screwdriver. That's it. Yeah, I told you that. Yes, it tells you how to change everything out and goes through the process that I just did to disassemble the machine. So I'll keep that off to the side. In fact, I'll put it on my little Santa plate so it doesn't get lost. And let's talk about what comes in the package. All right, plastic bag, that's trash. We have a new tray assembly. Now this serves dual purpose. It serves as a support for the new interconnect board that will go between the main PCB or the main logic board or the main game board and the game cartridges. And it also supports as a support tray for the cartridges themselves. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, the games will in fact slide into it like that. This is a newer version of this, as a matter of fact, and I believe they've raised this up just a hair so that there's a little more clearance here to be able to more easily grab the cartridges and take them out. I've been told that these kits have a real death grip on the games, and until you've run them through a few times to wear the pins down a little bit, it can be kind of nightmarish removing the game. So we'll see. All right, so that's what we have. We've got the tray and we have a new interconnect board. So let's take the interconnect board out next. It's in a pink poly bag here. Which, by the way, these are not really anti-static bags. I know this because I used to train anti-static at my last job. Oh, we have a new sticker here that can be placed onto the front of the console. It says, "Keep calm and don't press down." That's because they want to make sure that whoever's using this, and in case it's not you, and somebody who's not aware that you have a blinking light when installed, that they won't accidentally push down and try to break the cartridge in the process. All right, here is the new interconnect board. Here we are. More trash. So here's the interconnect board. Pretty simple. It's actually a really ingenious design. It's just a large PCB with the two replacement 72-pin connectors, and these are not old stock. These look to be complete new replacements. I'm not sure where they got them from, but yeah. So basically what's going to happen here is this will be installed, and instead of the game cartridges going into the old connector here, they're now going to go into this connector. So, and by extension, with the new tray assembly, they'll go in just like this, and they'll plug straight in, just like they do on the top loader, which is a much more reliable system as well. So that's how it works. So how do we do this? All right, well, let's see. I need to put this on. And according to this, it does say this side up right here. This side up. So that tells me that I need to put this part on the bottom, like so. Oh, that part's a little more, this is a little more tricky. Grab the board carefully. There we go, there's one side. Goodness. They're worried about the cartridges having a death grip. Oh, this blinking light wind's got a death grip. Yeah, that doesn't want to go in very well. Goodness. Oh, there we go. Wow. That was something else. Yeah. Goodness. And then the tray assembly itself slides over it like this. Just like that. And then the idea here is that you use some of the original screws that you took off previously. You reuse them for holding this assembly back down. And it looks like it's going to be the long screws in the back. The old tray. Although now that I think about it, I'm going to go ahead and use the shorter screws. Although the longer screws used to be back here, I'm going to use the shorter screws because this tray and the plastic for it isn't as thick. So those may not even really get used anymore. So let me use 2 of the shorter screws instead. And I could tell because when I was trying to screw this back in, it was starting to fight me before I had it all the way down, and that meant it was getting to the end of the threads at the bottom of the post, and I did not want to crack the post. That would be bad. So, there we go. Now you might have noticed that I actually went backwards with the screw before I went forwards. And those of us that do this kind of stuff all the time will know why I did that, but for those that don't, that's not good. The reason is because you don't want to strip out the threads. So one easy way to prevent that is to first put the screw in, then go backwards until you hear it click. And that's it actually clicking into the thread. That way you know you're not going to strip out the threads or your screw or whichever, and you're not going to be cross-threading it. And in the case of this, it's very important because it's made of plastic. The screws are brass or steel in some cases, and they're being screwed into plastic. Okay, so the tray is now physically installed with the new blinking light wind module. I guess I can test that out, see what kind of a setup we have here. Okay, not too bad. Yeah, it's got a little bit of work required to it, but that's not too bad. I think that'll be all right. The real test will be once I put the cover and everything back on, which is the next task. So, here's the original RF shielding. I'm gonna see if I can weasel this back in. There we are. Just like that. Perfect. Now, all right. That is now in place. Top cover. Just like that. And I will now put the original 6 screws that I took from the bottom. Now, the blinking light wind also features a region defeat chip. Basically, it allows you to play games from Europe, Japan, etc. without having to have any kind of a Game Genie or a separate device to defeat the region lockout chip that is installed in the North American Nintendo. You can also alternatively cut a pin on the chip itself, which disables the lockout. But if you want to try to keep it original and ensure better compatibility, then this also features a chip to do that for you without having to modify the Nintendo. I actually don't own any non-US games, so for me that feature is not as critical. But it does come included with the blinking light wind replacement cartridge connector. Okay, so all those are in. I have the 2 big screws left over from the original tray. I'll just put those in my spare bin to be used somewhere. And there we go. Now, got the new tray installed. So, what will I do? Well, I guess I can put this new fancy sticker on. Now, let's see here. It's actually really nice. This is a vinyl sticker. It's real nice quality, actually. So let's see if I can line it up pretty well here without goofing it. Not the world's best at putting a sticker on straight, but I try. Alright, well it's not quite centered, but it's on there. It'll be fine. There we go. See? Alright. Time to give this bad boy a test. Blinking light win is now installed, and we're going to test this thing out. Make sure it's working. Again, it almost looks like it's still stock, but it doesn't push down anymore. Now the cartridges just slide directly in. Like that. That's in. I see one improvement they did. They increased the length of the cartridge connector on the top, giving you a lot more room to grab the cartridge to be able to pull it out. This is a new feature, I think, on these newer versions of the blinking light win. That was a big complaint with the originals, so that's really handy. But let's test it out. Remember, Double Dragon was giving me some trouble before, so let's see what we have. Is it in? It's in. Again, don't have to push down. Turn on the monitor here. Give it a second to warm up. And we'll power it on. Okay. Well, that's different. Let's try that again. That's better. I'd forgotten that the first time you power this up, and in fact, it helps to read the manual, as they say. It says plug it in, put the new tray. Lastly, it says power cycle the system to change the region. Switch it on and off. This is mostly for the non-NTSC users, as the initial region is set to NTSC. Each time you power cycle, the lockout chip will automatically magically switch to the next region. Once it detects the region on your system, it will remember the setting and you should be set for life. Up to 4 power cycles may be required to find the correct region. So, there we are. Let's make sure it wasn't a fluke. I'll try taking it out. Put it back in again. Perfect. Yay! Check a few more games here. Get Double Dragon back into its cool little Funko Land sleeve from back in the day. And we'll try one of my personal favorite games, Batman. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Batman. It was probably the one game I played the most back in the day when I used to borrow my stepbrother's Nintendo. I'd say we have Batman. Yeah. Okay. They're really not that hard to pull out. I know it looks like I'm having trouble with it, but that's because I'm trying to do this with one hand while holding the camera with the other. Honestly, they definitely improved what I've seen in previous videos. Because it's in there all the way. But you can see it sticks out a good, just under a ½ inch out. Gives you more room to be able to grab it with your fingers right here. Be able to pull the cartridge loose. So that's much better. Yeah. Okay. And without a doubt, my favorite Castlevania game on the NES, Castlevania 3, Dracula's Curse. Nice. First try. Or like Batman on the Lego Movie. First try. Sorry, that was stupid. Okay. I would say that's a That's a win. That's a blinking light win. I'm sure that joke's been used somewhere else on the internet. All right, very cool. Well, that's it for this one.